Welcome, guys, to this episode of the All Things REI podcast. We got a special guest, Ali Nazarian, and he's a big guy in the development space right now. Here, doing a lot of projects. No, it's true. Doing a lot of projects here in Ontario, but also way out east. And he's the founder of EcoLux Development, and he's also has a background in engineering and project management, which helped him in this field. And he has a lot to tell us today about new builds and some lessons learned from the past when he did other construction. So, Ollie, thanks for joining us, and I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Thank you, Tom, for having me here. Yeah, I don't know about big developer, but we do some stuff. But no, I appreciate the intro and thanks for having me here.
hmm So, I guess anything else that we missed from this description of yours, maybe you can introduce yourself and
Yeah,
tell people kind of your background a little bit more and how you got into real estate in the first place. And then we can kind of go from there once people understand who you are.
yeah, I'll do a quick kind of intro on how I got into real estate because the long version is pretty long, but
Fair enough.
yeah, like you mentioned, my name is Ali Nazarian. I'm an engineer by trade, so I'm a mechanical engineer. I used to work in oil and gas. Did a lot of project management, risk management, also years ago, like engineering consulting and things like that. Um, but how I got into real estate, it really was a passion since I was a kid. I
hmm
always was fascinated by homes being built and always wanted to do it at some point, but going to school or go to get a job and things like that. And I wasn't really like kind of I wasn't sure when I'm gonna do it, but I always knew that's something I want to do.
Right.
So in 2015, I was working in Edmonton in the oil and gas. And for those who remember 2015 in Alberta, there was a big crash in the oil industry, and a lot of people got laid off. I was one of them. The company I worked for actually went bankrupt after 45 years,
Wow.
so everything was shut down. It was actually pretty sad. I worked there for about a year and a half, and the last year, there was a lot of hype about this new extended office they were building, like customizing it. We all had input into it. And then literally a month after they moved in, they went bankrupt. They had to
Just
shut down
just done.
everything and
Wow.
done.
Wow.
Yeah, it was bloodbath in Alberta in 2015 for those who remember. So I was sitting, there was literally no even like there were no jobs to even apply for. Like I remember searching for jobs and like there's literally nothing being posted to even apply for. So there was a lot of like call it soul searching or like, okay, what am I
hmm
gonna do with my life now? Like it's, like you build your career, you do all that stuff, and then like this, I have to leave the country or change industry or something. But it just so happened that Edmonton was really promoting infill development. I know everybody talks about Edmonton now, but really Edmonton has started this journey of intensifying their downtown core and whatnot in 2014, 15. And fun fact is like they used to put out a lot of material for like how to do infill developments. And at the time they were promoting like putting duplexes and whatnot. So I started, I had a lot of time on my hand, didn't have much to do. So I started reading on those things. I was like, this is interesting. I always wanted to do it. Let me see how does this work. And I could see other people doing it. So anyhow, like I learned a little bit about that. Eventually ended up getting a job in 2016 and I started investing in real estate right there. And then I knew I need to do something different. For those who are listening and they're starting in real estate, it's really like I describe it as like it's almost like floaters when you're swimming. Like if you're just working your day job is great, but that's basically you're swimming to keep your head above the water. And the more assets you own, it's like you have floaters. Now you have a little inflatable boat. Now you get like, a proper boat. And now you get like a yacht. And now you have like, you know, it's like it just allows you to float without having to swim. So that was a realization like those, I'm really condensing this into like a couple of seconds, but it was a journey to learn. Like I was like, what can I do to prevent this from affecting my life again? And the answer was investing in real estate. So right away, I bought a condo where I live now in Ontario in Richmond Hill. I did midterm rental, I guess we call it now, or
Okay.
furnished rentals. and it was pretty good. There are a lot of people renting that on a short term. Funny story, I was in Alberta. I didn't know the rules are different in
Oh no.
Ontario, and I was charging. No, I was charging like damage deposit, and nobody said anything. And I just and a couple of times I actually had to forfeit the damage deposit, and nobody said anything. So I got away with it.
Oh,
Um,
interesting. So you actually made a little extra.
yeah, no, I mean, like I was charging damage deposit without knowing that you can't do that in Ontario because in Alberta we always charge damage deposit.
Oh, I see. I see.
So yeah, yeah. So I had that extra security,
Mm-hmm.
but there was one tenant that really damaged the place, and it
Oh,
was like
geez.
keep the damage deposit. So I guess it helped me in that case. But I kept the dream of building homes alive. I'd worked on that during those 8 months or whatever that I wasn't working. And eventually 2017, I decided, like, you know what, I'm just gonna pull the trigger. I saw some land being available. Uh, so I picked up a piece of land. I became my own GC and I started building a house.
Wow.
Um, yeah, and I was like, I do project management. This is another project. Small town. I could, go from my office to this lot in like 10 minutes. So
Oh,
my lunch breaks, I would run
you
to the
keep an eye on
site
it, and
and
if people are actually working or
yeah,
actually doing what
yeah.
they're
And I
supposed to.
lived exactly, and I lived literally across the street from the lot.
Oh wow.
So yeah, I just did that. Very, very steep learning curve. I'm not recommending that to anyone listening to do that as your first project, but I survived. Actually, fun fact again is at the time I finished it out, my plan was to sell it, make money. Obviously, market didn't pick up. That was me trying to time the market.
Hmm.
Um, Ended up renting it. And I was like, oh, well, looks like I'm making like, I don't know, a couple $100 a month cash flow. I'm like, this is a better strategy than trying to sell it. So I kept it. And funny enough, just went firm on selling it on Friday.
Oh, we're coming full circle
Uh,
here. All
Full
right.
circle, yeah, 8 years. But that's the power of when you build as a rental. You can keep it, you can weather the storm. I waited and now I sold it like really good price. But all along I've been making money from this building, right?
Hmm.
So that was my kind of discovery of purpose-built rentals. So I'll stop there because that is like kind of dragging out a little bit,
No, no, no,
but
it's fine. That's totally fine.
yeah, yeah.
It's an interesting origin story because I'm an engineer as well, but I for some reason I see there's a lot. It just seems like there's a lot of engineers who end up choosing real estate for whatever reason, and it's cool to see your story how you used all that knowledge to your advantage. You're able to apply it towards project management and actually dealing with the
Right.
property because everything I think is figure outable, and
100%.
it as engineers we're problem solvers, and that's exactly what real estate is. It's
I was
just
just gonna say
solving
that.
problems.
Yeah.
That's all you got to do.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that again, like not to, just prop ourselves up, but
No, no,
engineers, like we feel like we can face anything and figure it out because that's what you do on a daily basis.
yeah.
You face a challenge, you figure it out, you find a solution.
Hmm.
So I think that part doesn't really scare us, and that has really been my approach to a lot of things we do. Is like, okay, well, we figure it out for the most part, and if there's a problem, we find a solution for it.
Hmm.
Although there is a reputation for engineers that we need to know everything in detail, but it's not really that. It's just we
Yeah.
want to make sure that we have all the information we need to make the decision if something happens, right?
Yes.
So I think that allows us to take what seems like a risk to other people.
Hmm. Yeah, you can add a safety factor on there, do your calculations, do your
Exactly.
risk analysis,
Yeah.
do it all. But I
Yeah.
do agree with you. Sometimes I have even for myself, you get in the weeds a little bit, and you're like, wait a second, okay, think big picture, think big picture. It's not you don't need to know every little bit because there's the architect who does, or the guy who that's his job to know that little detail. You don't need to
Absolutely.
micromanage necessarily. But
No, I agree
yeah.
with you. That's probably something like if there are any engineers out there getting into real estate, and I guess we have learned this the hard way, is we sometimes get into the weeds a lot. And it actually it's a challenge for if you're partnering with someone that's not an engineer, it can be frustrating for them.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Because it seems like overanalyzing, and sometimes it is. And I'm sure you've probably gone through that kind of mental journey as well to like tune it down and like, okay, like we don't have to like basically overanalyze
Yeah.
everything. Like, yeah, gotta kind of work big picture, like you mentioned. Yeah.
Once you run the numbers 12 times, it's not going to change anything. You just got to take action.
Yeah. The more you look at it, it's not gonna change it. Yeah,
Yeah.
for
Well,
sure.
it seems like you were pretty confident going into your first ever development. Was there anyone or anything that you kind of leaned on as you were going through that process to make your first building? Did you have any mentors, or were you just YouTubing or going to the city planner since it was a small town, or builder asking questions? Like, how did you bootstrap this just to make it all the way to
Yeah, I'm
completion?
I'm laughing because you're like it's all of the above.
Oh, it is
Um,
okay.
but it's a great question actually. So um, I had a friend. I was thinking about it like when I was in Edmonton before I go back to work. I tried to like pull off some kind of a partnership, but I had no idea what I was doing. Trying to bring someone that has money, and then I had a friend who was a construction manager in like more like bigger construction. So that was helpful. Like I knew that like he's been in construction, is civil engineer, whatnot. Shout out to Mo if he ever listens to this. I still rely on him sometimes. Like he's a big time project manager with some large GCs in Alberta now. So he's always been very helpful, a great friend. Um, so that was him. But then I had another friend that was building a house at that time in that same city. And that would really what gave me a little bit more courage. And he was a doctor, he was a physician. I was like, well, if he can do it, I'm an engineer. I should be able to do it.
Right. Yeah.
And I can learn from him. And I got some like referrals and whatnot from him. And the idea was like he's gonna help me along the way. Lesson learned. If somebody's not paid to help you, you can't rely on that.
That's a good
And
point.
for that's yeah, that's a lesson I learned the hard way. Like, having a mentor, having a coach and things like that. And I do coaching myself now, but so I see that value. I learned it the hard way, but uh I don't want other people to learn it that way. But so yeah, he ended up having another kid and got busy in his clinic and whatnot, and didn't really have time to answer my calls like every day. I was like, how do I do this? How do I do that? But luckily, there were some other colleagues and whatnot that helped with some of the technical challenges. But University of YouTube was very
Of
helpful.
course.
I did the whole basement all by myself. Like I took over from basically after I think was Mud and Tape, and I did everything myself. And that was like basically I had YouTube open. I was like, how do I hang a door? How do
Yeah.
I do
Yeah.
baseboards? How do I install a kitchen and all of this stuff? So it was all of the above, but it was definitely a very, very steep learning curve. A lot of, sleepless nights, a lot of stress, even handling, managing, trades and contractors and whatnot.
And you were doing this all where you had a day job as well, right? So you're having to juggle
Yeah, I had
both.
to say, oh
Wow.
man, yeah, yeah, you know it. I can tell from your questions. Yeah, it was sometimes during the day I was dealing with, I don't work there anymore and they can't fire me. But during the day I was doing stuff for the construction for the project, and then I would stay after hours to finish my day job work. So it would still like deliver. Uh,
Funny story. I know exactly that feeling because there was a time during COVID, so we were working from home 5 days a week the entire time. And I had a flip going in Windsor, and in order to speed it up, I had to just put in the work myself a little bit. So hanging drywall and stuff. So I was literally on a Zoom call. I'd be doing drywall, and then, oh, hey, Tom, blah, blah, asking a question. I was like, oops, sorry, I was on mute. Meanwhile, I'm like hot spotting from my phone just so I bring my work laptop
oh
out.
yeah,
So I know exactly
crazy.
what you
Yeah,
mean.
yeah.
Sometimes you got to. Then later on, you go home and like, well, I guess it's 9 p.m. I got to finish this report, whatever you got to
Yeah.
do because you can't
Hey, I
slack.
actually did that. I had a property in Niagara that I was doing some renos myself. And I literally was doing that. I had a day job still at the time. And yeah, I had my laptop and I was just like, oh, I have a meeting. I would, stop for a little bit for an hour,
Hmm.
jump on the laptop, have my meeting, and then go back to work.
That's efficient. I'll say
painting or
that.
whatever I was doing. Hey, that's sometimes that's what you got to do, right? Like for I guess for your audience, if anybody's listening and they're starting, there is no, they say there's no elevator to success. You got to take the stairs, right? Sometimes
Hmm.
you got to do the hard work, wearing multiple hats, working two shifts, three shifts, pretty much, right? And I think that's the story for a lot of us,
Of
and
course.
that's like the transition.
Yeah, I you see it all the time on social media, and I know it's probably been said many times, but you only see the positives on all the people either going full time in real estate or just doing this and that. But you got to realize like they also probably slaved away for a while. It's not just
Oh yeah,
a quick thing. It usually takes some time.
yeah.
Like you were started in what? You said 2014, 2015 time
20,
frame?
yeah, that's when I started looking into it.
Yes.
2016 was my first investment, 2017 first development.
So
It
like a
is
decade.
almost 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
almost a decade since I started thinking about doing what I'm doing now.
And that's been quite a
Yeah,
journey.
it doesn't
Yeah.
happen overnight for sure.
So walk me through this.
But
So,
it's
oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
no, no, go ahead. I don't know, just got some thought popped in my head. It's like it's almost parabolic, right? It's, speaking in engineering terms, it's kind of a slow in the beginning, like the time goes by, but you don't see a jump, and then it just like speeds up and it goes like, you
Hmm.
know, goes up like really quick. And now that's the portion what most people see. It's like, oh, like 6 months ago you were doing this, now you're doing that. How did that happen? But they may not always see that, okay, maybe I've been kind of building the foundation for that
Hmm.
for years and years to be able to do something that now you can see it on social media, or you see a kind of tip of the iceberg per se.
Yes. Yeah. It took time to build the teams or to the connections to bring you the deal in the first place or to
And the
get your war chest of
confidence,
money.
yeah.
Yeah. The confidence. Because I'd say too, if you don't make some mistakes, you're probably not trying hard enough. you know,
Oh
you,
yeah. You're not
yeah.
doing anything important.
Or that's a great way of putting it too. Yeah. So you have to keep pushing, keep pushing.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's you gotta, you know, yeah, it doesn't sound nice, but you gotta take the scars. You gotta have some scars.
Hmm.
You don't get through it with no scars,
You'll
right?
have to tell us a little bit later about some of those scars. That's for sure.
Yeah, honestly, I could tell you exactly like on that first build, like first time, I never knew what anxiety is or what
Hmm.
panic attack is until I was in that project, and like there were days that nothing was going my way, and it's like what did I do? Why did I even start this? I could have just kept my 9 to 5 job, and still, I'm not gonna lie, there's still days that those thoughts come to mind, right? It's not all rainbows and sunshine for sure.
No, you're right. It's like you get to a new level, you get introduced to a new devil, and then
Oh, pure, I love that.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
it
exactly.
so that the old things that probably stressed you out or gave you anxiety on that first new build probably it pales in comparison to what you're dealing with on a big multi-unit building that's
Man,
more
you're
money,
taking
more
words out of my
everything.
mouth.
Yeah.
You're taking words out of my mouth. Exactly. Like sometimes you think about it. And you know what? Like the days that on a bigger project, it doesn't get easier. You take on bigger challenges. It's like, to anybody does sports or if you do martial arts or whatever, right? Like you're not gonna go and fight Mike Tyson like the first day, right? But you just take on bigger challenges as you feel more confident. But
Absolutely.
if you haven't been punched a few times, you're not gonna go and take on a bigger, opponent, right? And yeah, you're right. Like the challenges that we deal with now, or sometimes like bigger projects, it really pales compared to that. But at the time, that seemed like end of the world. But now you look back, like in some recent projects, and you look back and you're like, oh, that was nothing. Why was I being stressed about that?
Right. Yeah.
And I'm sure there's the same stuff that we dealt with more recently. I'm gonna feel the same way about it in a couple of years, right? So, and that's part of the growth. And it's also a reminder, and when you go through those challenges, is a reminder that, hey, I survived that one. I figured it out. And at the time, it seemed as scary as this looks like now. So that again is like what gives you confidence that, hey, like I figured that out. I can figure this out too.
Mm, mm-hmm. That's well said. Yeah, you build that undeniable proof to yourself, and then you can
Exactly. You
trust.
build a
Yeah.
proof to yourself. You don't have to prove yourself to anybody else. That's a big motto for myself. Is like I don't have to prove myself to anybody else
Mm-hmm.
but myself, basically. And if I've done it before and I know I can do it, it gives me the courage to go for bigger challenges. Obviously, you take a calculated risk, uh, but it's like, if you were whatever, even if you're in the gym, right? You don't go for the heaviest weight on first day. You
Yeah.
just built up that strength, and you go for a bigger challenge.
Well said. I feel like you're giving me a little coaching session right here. uh, so okay, so you get to the you finish your new builds. How did you end up getting into the kind of the bigger multifamily? What was that transition? Kind of walk me through to and get us to where you are currently today.
Yeah, that's a great question. So after I did that project, I moved to Ontario in 2019, I think it was. And I was in the Niagara region, actually, in St. Catharines. And there's a lot of funny stories, but I was looking for a place to rent. And I was hoping to do the same thing that I did in Alberta here, buy a piece of land, build a duplex, rent it out, keep doing that. At the time, I had made that decision that that's going to be my approach. Um, but I couldn't make the numbers work, and I
Hmm.
wasn't sure what I'm missing, that it doesn't make sense. But as I was looking for a place to rent, I came across this brand new duplex with basement suites built, and I was like, hey, how are these people doing it? Like, it must make sense. That's what they're doing it. So I went on like a journey to try figure it out. Probably wasted about a year, different cities, different places. I was like, nothing makes sense. And then I realized like just land is too expensive in Ontario, and the rents were not that high at the time, to make this work.
Hmm.
But funny enough, I ended up uh, coming across a course talking about development and infill developments. And I signed up. It was at the time, seemed like a lot of money. Uh, but I pulled the trigger and I was like, okay, well, I did it one time with no training. Let's take proper training this time, see how that works. But um, it turned out the people that were presenting that, they were the people who built that project. And they explained exactly what they did and how they did it.
Oh,
So
so it's like a physical test case. They should
yeah, it was
understand. Yeah.
like, yeah, it was like as they started presenting, I'm like, why did the building look so familiar to me? I didn't end up renting that place. It
Right.
wasn't done yet at the time. But I was like, oh, that's that same building. And I was wondering how they pulled it off. So it was really great. It was good value for the money I spent on that training. And that's where I got introduced into kind of land strategies, land development strategies, like land assemblies, severances. Turned out it was that kind of a strategy. This was basically backyards of two properties that they assembled, they severed it, put two duplexes. And I was like, that's how you do it. So I got down the rabbit hole of like land development for a while, and that's what I was known for quite a bit. So did some of that strategies like severances, land assembly, do an assembly, rezoning, flip the
Hmm.
paper kind of thing. And then a couple of years ago, I came across, these groups and people talking about multifamily. And when I saw how they run the numbers, of course, being an engineer, I'm like, I love this. I don't have to guess what the value is at the end. I can just put it in a spreadsheet and know exactly if I do this, this is how much value I'm adding to the building. I don't have to try to guess what the appraiser is going to
Yeah.
give me if I make it bigger or nicer. So I really liked that. It really resonated with me. So I jumped all over that, kind of learning about multifamily and how it works, and did a partnership as well with someone that had more experience in multifamily. And so yeah, that's how I learned about multifamily. And then I was like, I want to do both of these together. But that was like came a little bit later. I did some value add projects. MLI Select came out along the way here. And I guess I didn't mention it, but I was doing energy efficiency from that first build. Just my mechanical engineering background, like I knew stuff from school time and whatnot. I wanted to bring that into the mix. So with MLI Select coming out, and I was like, okay, the energy efficiency piece comes easy to me. I was doing that years before MLI Select comes out. So I jumped all over that, and that's what really dragged me big time into multifamily.
Mm. Really quick question: is that why, because you're big into energy efficiency, you named your company EcoLux
Lux,
Development?
yeah. Yeah, exactly. I
Okay,
should have actually mentioned it. So
interesting.
the initial idea was to build uh, basically net zero custom homes, uh, net zero luxury custom homes, basically.
Well,
That
that's
was
very
my
unique.
idea.
Yeah.
That was my business idea. I was like, I had some business training before. I was like, so you gotta differentiate yourself. You gotta be different. I'm like, I'm not a long-term builder. I'm not a, multi-generational builder. There's a lot of those people out there.
Hmm.
How do I compete with these builders that they've been building for decades? I was like, okay, I can bring my engineering and my passion for energy efficiency, renewables, and that would be my competitive edge over other builders because I can bring that into the mix. And it was fairly new in Canada, those conversations, right? It wasn't as trendy in 2015, especially in Alberta, to talk about, sustainability and energy
Right.
efficiency and whatnot. But I did some of that when I was in school. So that's where I wanted to do that. But it kind of like transitioned out of that, as I mentioned, like the idea of like building to sell versus building purpose built rentals.
Mm.
But yeah, good catch there.
No, no, yeah. I just noticed that. I was like, just a little light bulb moment clicked
Yeah,
there.
but
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
cool. So that's
yeah. Thank
interesting.
you.
So you went from land development into like actual just full on construction. What was the reason behind that? Was that because you saw a gap where you could like you're leaving money on the table essentially if you're severing lots.
Yeah,
If you have a blank lot, why not also build on it at the same time? Uh,
for sure. Yeah, that was part of it for sure. That idea. Part of it again, like when MLI Select came out, and I saw what we can do with MLI Select and all the flexibilities it has. It was a lot easier when it first came out in late 2021 or mid 2021, and so I jumped all over it, and I did the math and running the numbers, and I'm like, man, I can pull all the capital out of the deal if we do this value add, even with all the energy efficiency and everything. And so that first partnership with my current one of my current business partners, Adriana, it was actually in New Brunswick, and that's actually related to what we're doing now. Um, we renovated that building. It was a sixplex. We did energy efficiency upgrade. And it was very counterintuitive at the time because we were spending like almost double what you would normally spend on a renovation to achieve all the energy
right.
efficiency upgrades. But we were able to pull out, I think, more than 95% of our capital using MLI Select.
Where else does that
And
even
we did
happen? You don't get that sort of money back usually.
exactly.
It
Yeah.
just
So
to
that was really, sorry, go ahead.
Oh yeah, sorry with the Zoom. It's sometimes hard to interject, but I was just
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
ask really quickly. So what did you have to do? Maybe this is in the weeds a little bit, but what did you have to do to make it energy efficient? I know one is mini splits. Did you have to do anything else?
So it was mini splits. So that building was running on oil furnace. So one of
Okay.
them was getting rid of the oil furnace, making everything electric, putting electric hot water tanks, and then heat pumps, some window upgrades.
Hmm.
But that was another thing that, again, that what really helped me was my understanding of energy efficiency and how that works, was because I realized like we start at the lower point because it was an improvement. So the oil furnace and all that had really low energy efficiency. So just adding the heat pump was like almost 30%
Oh, that was
improvement.
easy. Yeah, an easy jump then.
Yeah, exactly. And so yeah, I guess I had a little bit of edge over other investors at the time, and we jumped in and pulled it off. Obviously, we had to work with energy advisors. But actually, at some point during COVID, I think I took some online courses in as a net zero home builder certification, basically. So really understanding how the whole energy efficiency and energy modeling works. So that was really helpful as well.
Hmm. So what brought you or attracted you to out east? I think I know the answer, but maybe for the listeners, you can also share what kind of made you want to start developing out there. I'm assuming because you said
Yeah.
earlier Ontario's too pricey, but maybe there's some other reasons.
That was one of them was the price point. So when I met my current business partner, Diana, at some networking events and whatnot, and we were talking, she was very active in New Brunswick. And when I heard the numbers and the situation out there and the opportunities, I was really impressed. And she was very familiar, but basically she had this property under contract that was like 2.5 acres with just a sixplex on it.
Wow.
And so basically, I had the development, the land development expertise. She had the multifamily expertise, and we thought that's a natural partnership to do. And that's basically what happened. We worked on that project. Uh, I ended up kind of bringing some of that energy efficiency and the MLI Select the knowledge into the mix as well. And it was really it has been a really great partnership. But just to, basically what impressed me at the time was it's a city that's a little bit under the radar. I know people have heard about it, but it's not flooded as much, at least not anymore by investors. It did get flooded a little bit during COVID, but it has really strong fundamentals. It's underserved. They have not built a lot out there for a very long time, so there's a lot of old stock on the market,
Oh,
and there's
there's a lot of
real
demand.
demand. Yeah, a lot of demand for just people are just hungry for a nice, clean, new, healthy building to live in. Um, Especially in St. John, Moncton and Fredericton are a little bit more ahead. So that's really one appeal of that. St. John specifically, it's a port, is a major port in Atlantic Canada, has tourism, cruise ships, has the biggest oil refinery in Canada. It has a major like pulp and paper industry. There's healthcare. There's a lot of industries going on there, so it's very steady and it's a blue collar town. It's kind of similar to Edmonton in terms of like blue collar cities are usually more stable in terms of the rental demand.
Just because they probably can't afford their own homes, so there's more renters there. Or
Probably some of that, but also blue collar jobs are, like a factory doesn't get built and then they shut it down next year, right?
yeah, that's a good point.
I mean, we're seeing
More
some of
stable.
that in Ontario. Yeah,
That's for
but
different reasons, though. But
for different reasons. But
yeah,
even those, like they've probably been around for like, a good decade or so before any change happens. And
yeah,
it's not a decision that they make very lightly. Whereas in an office job, example of that is Calgary, not to badmouth Calgary,
no,
but
no, yeah.
it's very cyclical because it's all office jobs, right? Um, as soon as the company needs to cut costs, they just lay off people. Uh, Whereas, for example, like Edmonton is a lot of manufacturing. You can't just shut it down the next day, right? It's manufacturing, it's a lot of equipment. So St. John is very similar in that sense. The refinery itself, and kind of tapping into my knowledge from like oil and gas time, there's always what we call a like turnaround. Every few years, you have to like shut it down. There's a lot of people come to town for those kind of jobs. A lot of like supporting services have to be there to maintain the facilities. Same thing for pulp and paper plant. So that's why the blue collar cities generally tend to be more stable economies.
Oh no, appreciate you explaining that. That makes sense now that
Yeah,
you said that way.
yeah, no worries.
So now, what you're doing is you're actually doing a bigger development now. Can you talk
That's
a little
right.
bit about that, or divulge some of your some of the secrets, or share
Yeah,
what you
yeah,
can
for
about
sure.
it?
Happy to chat about that. Yeah, so I guess to just fill the gap there, like we did go into like doing some more of these value add projects with MLI Select. And obviously, for those who've been around more than 3 years in this industry, like MLI Select kind of pulled the rug under everybody's feet. So that was like a lot of challenges with rules changing halfway through the project. So
Oh man.
um, luckily we have pretty much weathered those storms now. But again, that comes back to you get faced with challenges.
Mm.
Every project is going to have challenges.
Did you have to do anything?
Sorry,
No, it's okay. I you could see that I was
I thought
thinking.
you
No,
had
no,
a
you're right.
question. Yeah,
You're right. I did. I'm just wondering. So with the MSLI Select, what people don't know is they changed some of the requirements, the rules, and
that's
therefore
right.
you potentially couldn't qualify, and your numbers are thrown out of whack because you were thinking you're get X amount of financing and pull a
That's
certain amount of
right.
dollars. But a lot of people either ended up with a lot of funds stuck, or even not able to qualify to begin with.
or you have to inject more capital that you didn't plan for.
Yeah.
And that's basically what happened. Like 6 months after we started, two more larger, basically same strategy, MLI Select, basically building on the success of that 6 unit that we did.
Mm.
And then 6 months into the project, they changed the rules and said you can't refinance with CMHC for 2 years. And it has to
Ew.
be 2 years with a CMHC approved lender, not any lender. So that threw a massive wrench into a lot of people's wills,
Mm-hmm.
including us.
Yeah, because you don't get
And
you don't get to pay your investors back right away then. Oh,
no,
geez.
even carrying it, like, you're not planning to carry the project with, because like we were done our renovation in like 9 months. We were ready to refinance, but then we were told we have to wait 2 years with the bridge or with a private lending. So a lot of additional costs that we were not expecting to have.
Mm.
Um, Unfortunately, a lot of people went under, like they didn't survive that. So we feel lucky that we were able to survive that shock. I guess at least after 6 months, CMHC realized that this is not the right thing to do, and it's like it's causing a lot of damage. So they reversed on that, and they allowed people to refinance. A lot of damage was already done, but then they changed the point system. So speaking of, like, those situations where you really have to like act. So they gave everyone 2 weeks to get your application in, or you would have to qualify in the new point system.
Oh man, was two
And
weeks enough? Because that seems like a really
we,
short window.
oh man, that was like, I think for any mortgage brokers out there, they know, like anybody that dealt with CMHC, they did not sleep for 2 weeks.
Oh no,
The amount of
no.
applications they probably pushed probably 6 months to 8 months worth of applications in 2 weeks.
Holy heck.
So it was madness, and some lenders were brokers were trying to pull a fast one on you and charge extra and whatnot,
Right.
and
Because
I
like,
won't
hey,
go
this
to a
is
lot of.
urgent, so I can hold you by the balls. I
Basically,
see.
yeah,
Yeah,
we
extortion.
had someone, I don't want to mention names, but they tried to do that to us like 24 hours before the deadline, increasing their fees and stuff. And I'm like, well, this is what we can do. Uh, and
Wow.
luckily, we had, again, speaking of the network and the power team, we had another team that we were doing another project with, and they, I had to call them. It's like, I need you guys to do a solid one for me, and can you get this through? It's like it's 24 hours. But
Craziest
that's
request
that's the
ever.
power
Yeah.
of your yeah, that's the power of your relationships and the power team and the people that you have around you. That really we would not have survived this if we didn't have that strong of a team and relationships with people to help us get through it, right? From investors, from lenders, from private lenders, from mortgage
Hmm.
brokers, everyone like that. It was I can tell you it was not easy to, it's like Mike Tyson punching you in the face and you're trying to stand on your
Yeah, not
feet,
pass
right?
out.
Yeah, and not pass out and get back up. And so, yeah, they did a solid one for us. We managed to get our application through. Like literally, it was like an hour before the deadline. They managed to submit the application. So we still managed to get our projects. Basically, we were like 90+% loan to value as a refinance, 50-year amortization. If the rules would have changed, if we missed that deadline, we would probably be only be able to go to 40 years and I think 85%. So that
That's a
would
big
have
difference.
that would have derailed the whole thing.
I wonder if you would have
Um,
even cash flowed, or you would have definitely had way less.
Probably not.
Yeah,
No, we would not
exactly.
cash flow for sure. Yeah. So yeah, so that those are the things, right? Like you just have to rise up to the challenge. And that's the things that you grow, and there are things you learn, but really the biggest learning is the value of the relationships, right? Not chasing a point less, right? Like, if I'm trying to get a mortgage, and it's like, oh, this guy will do it for, 25 basis points less. But the relationships are more important because when something goes wrong, it's those relationships that is going to save you.
Hmm.
And not looking at people that, like brokers or lawyers and things like that. Oh, because I'm paying them, they're working for me, they just have to do it. No, there is going to be a time that you need them to do you a favor. Even you're paying them is still a favor.
Oh, of course.
Yeah,
Yeah, you gotta treat those people like family. You really do, and you hear stories all the
100%.
time. You go with the cheap one, you're not gonna necessarily get quality work. It might be cost effective, but it won't be necessarily what you need. So you might as well pay at least good. For me, a rule of thumb is like just pay at least middle of the road. Then you know you're probably
Middle of the
covered.
road. Yeah,
Yeah, you don't need
yeah.
to pay like super steep high end, but like yeah, don't cheap
No,
out because it's gonna definitely burn you at some point, whether it be
yeah.
with a
No, not
contractor or
everything
something.
that's more expensive is better, but
Yes. Yeah.
yeah, but they just make sure you're getting the value. And I would say like pick the right people and treat them right and build a relationship with them.
Mm. Do you do anything like for instance, my grandmother? She used to go to the bank. She'd always bring people baked goods and muffins, and literally it helped her. I'm pretty sure because one time she needed something for the bank. Like it might have been with her mortgage. I have no idea. Don't quote me on this, but because of all this stuff, they loved her. Like, oh, Julie, we love you. Here, take what you need. Do you do
Amazing.
you do you? This is more of a
I
niche question,
would.
but
I've done it before, but
do you send them like a card, or you touch base, say, hey, how you doing? Um,
yeah.
do you do anything special to maintain the
No,
relationships? Is my question.
yeah. You know what? But funny thing is like a part of my team, I've never met them in person.
Oh yeah,
My accountants, I've worked with them probably more than 4 years. I've never met them in person. Zoom like makes us lazy.
yeah,
They're
fair
sitting in
enough.
their office, probably home office. I don't even know where they're sitting. And I'm sitting there. So I don't get to meet them in person, but it's, like maintaining, working with the team, like taking the time to do due diligence on the people you work with, but then stick with them. Give them an
Be
opportunity.
loyal.
Nobody's going to be, yeah, be loyal. Nobody's perfect, right? And actually, like one of the things that I look at is like how good people take feedback, right? Because I will have feedback for them at some point, and just making sure that they don't see this as, a negative point in the relationship, and still being able to work together. So that's really important.
Yeah,
But yeah,
that.
I guess you were asking about like what we're working on in the East Coast. So
Yep.
that property, the big property, we worked on basically seeing what we can do with the extra land. Um, So after a lot of back and forth, different environments, it was not very developer friendly years ago. We had a couple of concepts. We got pushback from the city and the community. We had some other concepts that just didn't make financial sense. But now we've finally landed on a concept that works. It's a 28 units stacked townhome style apartment.
Very
And we
cool.
just got the approvals for that.
Ah,
It
congrats.
took, thank you. It took a few years, but we finally got all the approvals. It did help that they had a zoning reform not long ago, and then we managed to work something with kind of meet the city halfway kind of thing.
Mm,
We were going for bigger project, bigger building, but also considering many factors, including the community, the market, the construction costs, and things like that. We figured this 28 units stacked townhome style works the best. So we just got the approval. We're just going to put all the pieces together. We're getting the investors on board, and we're ready to launch basically and go for detailed design and construction. So really excited for that
that'll be really cool to see the progress of this. I'll be definitely following you as you post about it. But
for
I
sure.
for myself, but also for people listening or watching, because it's on YouTube and Spotify now, by the way.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. Can you walk me through just high level? What are some of the like project milestones for a development project? Because you said there's a couple years even beforehand before you even get approved for shovels in the ground. How's that go? Because now
That's right.
there's studies and then you got to do all these things. Could you just high level?
100%.
What do you think?
For sure, yeah. So the first thing is getting basically what we call planning approvals. So are you permitted to build what you think to build on that piece of land? And basically what it's called is like a zoning bylaws. Like every city, every location will have a zoning bylaw applicable that is basically in compliance with what we call an official plan that basically determines what is allowed to be built in certain areas of the city and how the city envisions basically the or how the planning department of the city envisions the city to look like.
Mhm.
And then they create zoning bylaws. So if what you want to build is not permitted in the zoning bylaw, you would have to go and do what's called a zoning bylaw amendment. If it's not even in the official plan, now you have to do official plan amendment, but
More
that's
more
a
pain and
big,
heartache that
big,
way.
oh yeah, that I wouldn't even, touch in most places. But so basically what took us long was because we had to do a zoning bylaw amendment to allow for a higher density on the site that we were. And that's a public process, and it is honestly political.
Mhm.
Um, because you need the councillors to vote on your plan, and what they want is a feedback from the community. So when I was saying like we had a pushback, the original concept that we were proposing was like 72 units and whatnot. And we did a community engagement, and which is basically you set up a website or you send flyers out to a certain radius to get feedback from the community. And that triggered a massive pushback from the
Yeah,
community.
the
And there was
NIMBYs.
a petition, yeah, the NIMBYs. There was a petition with 900 signatures against the project, and that was
Ouch.
sent to councillors. Actually, funny enough, we started getting calls from CBC reporters, and
Really? Oh, it got a
there is
little
an
bit of
article.
publicity.
Yeah, there is a CBC article about us from 2022, so we had to back off.
I'll say any publicity is good publicity, by the way.
Yeah, I guess you can say that, but it also like put the project under microscope in the community. So
Oh,
that's why we had to be very careful with what we propose.
I gotcha.
But basically, what happened at the end, last year they started doing a zoning reform. So instead of us doing the zoning bylaw amendment, they just changed the zonings because they wanted more density, the housing crisis and all that stuff that
Yep.
everybody has
Yep.
heard about these days. So now they are allowing more density, not quite what we wanted. And that's what I was saying. Like we kind of met them halfway, tried to come up with something that works for us and complies with what the city is allowing, but it's also in more conformity with the neighborhood. So this time when we went to council, we just had to get permission for uh, basically severing the lot and whatnot. So there was a little bit of public engagement, but we didn't have much of a pushback from the neighborhood. Again, they didn't have as much leverage as if we were to do a zoning bylaw amendment. So
Yeah,
without
they
getting
have
into too
less
much
input or less
detail,
say, basically.
yeah, let's say in the process it was just minor variances and minor stuff.
Hmm.
Uh, so yeah, that's one biggest step is what we call an approval risk in development. So if you can eliminate that approval risk, that's a big part of the risk taken care of. And that's basically where we are now today is we have got all the approvals, and now we basically bring investors and we work with them. But then after this stage, now we have to go for our building permit. There's obviously a design process, which on its
Hmm.
own, it's a lot of work. I would say the design piece and the underwriting, which for those who are not familiar, underwriting is basically running numbers and see, does this make financial sense? Is it financially feasible and viable to do? And then it's a kind of a back and forth between your design, or you tweak your design to make your performa better, and it still doesn't work. You might have to change your concept. You go back and forth until you get to a concept that works. So once you do that, you get your approvals, then you go and basically get your detailed design done, go for building permit, get it built, you figure out your financing, and then you have to have a marketing strategy, especially for larger buildings, and do the
To,
lease up
to get it
and
rented
turn
or pre-rented a
financing.
little bit.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, exactly. And if you can pre-rent, that's always better.
And there's a lot of upfront cost to this as well. Maybe you don't have to give exact numbers, but on average, what could you expect to have to pay for the permits, pay for these studies and things, and the architects before you even get shovels in the ground?
It's really unpredictable on that approval stage because, like,
Okay.
for example, for us, we probably had over 10 different concepts drawn up.
Oh man,
Uh,
that's a lot of
and
iterations back and forth then.
a lot of iterations back and forth. So it's, like that's our good friend that kind of mentioned this the first time is like development is not for the faint of heart. There are a lot of unknown risks. But again, there's like you can pick up projects that doesn't have that. That's what we call like as of right zoning. So
Hmm.
some of the stuff that we're doing now in Toronto with like sixplexes allowed or fourplexes allowed, you don't have that risk, and that's why they're more attractive and probably a better entry point for anybody that wants to get into development. So if you can eliminate that, that's always good because that makes it hard to predict the numbers. But we have had concepts that were completely done with renderings and all that, and we've spent like 20, 30 grand on architectural engineering. And if it doesn't work, you have to scrap it, go back to drawing board, literally.
Hmm.
Uh, so those things are a risk for sure. Uh, but again, you don't have to start from that point.
Could some of it, do you think, get mitigated a little bit if you know the city councilors, or not that you're like greasing palms, but if like you kind of get the inside scoop, like, hey, if I were to hypothetically propose something, would you be okay with this, or do you think this would pass with your ward, things like that?
100%, 100%. That's absolutely what you should do. You should actually talk. We've in some of the projects, even when we are conditional, we go and talk to the councilors for the area. It's like, hey, this is what we're thinking to do. Would you be willing to support it? Or what's the appetite there, right? Because a lot of times the councils they have certain things. They want more density or they want a certain type. Like I remember there was a project in Calgary and we talked to the council and they're like, we really like to have more live work set up. And we're like, okay, that's going to guide our design because that's what the area
With the
needs, right?
demand, yeah.
With the demand, and that's what the city is willing to support. So there's a saying I always say, like in development, you don't want to be swimming against the current,
You don't be swimming against the
right?
current. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah. Absolutely.
So
Why
you
make it
gotta
harder for
see like,
yourself?
yeah, I mean, you're wasting your time and energy, right? You want to see what is in demand, even what the community wants, right? The reason this time we didn't have as much pushback from the community because we've basically based on those feedbacks and back and forth since a couple of years, we really realized what they're looking for, right? They want to make sure all the neighbors around us wanted to make sure their privacy is not affected. So we put the building away from the people's backyards. They wanted to make sure it's not over towering on their property. So we went for like a shorter building. Sometimes, obviously, you have to push those things to make the numbers work. But if you can work within those and still like find a win-win for everyone, that's the art of development. And it's really an art, it's not a science.
Mm. I've actually, now that you mention it, I was in Windsor. We were doing a lot of the sixplexes because you can basically do them almost by right at this point.
Mhm.
And I was to one of those, and there was a lot of disgruntled neighbors. And the thing is, I it seems very hard to convince people who are already set in their ways before they even hear the true plan
Yeah,
that's being put in place. So I'm wondering, obviously the second time around, or whatever iteration number it was for you, they didn't put up much fuss. But I even wonder if the initial one, where 900 signatures were done, if they even really listened to the plan outright or got mad before they seen anything. Because at least in this case for the sixplex, people had wild misconceptions about what was happening and didn't
yeah,
have the full story, and so it just took a lot of patience for this builder to just say, "Hey, no, 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 this is not what's happening. You will, like he said, the privacy. It's not going to be tall
yeah,
seal. No one's looking over your fence. The garbage won't be out there. It's going to be in a bin, and it's not even going to be that much more for the traffic. Like, it's okay, guys. Like, chill out, essentially." So
yeah.
it's
No, that's true. Yeah, there are like you basically have to engage with the community and basically clarify a lot of these misconceptions that they have.
mhm,
And that's part of the process, right? Like sometimes you hire consultants to do that, which I would highly recommend because they have more experience on how to manage these situations. But yeah, you need to basically answer that, or if it's like a legit concern, you need to address it in your design,
for
right?
sure, for sure.
But at the end of the day, you would hope that the committee that's voting on it, they're focusing on the facts and things that are not, you know, arbitrary. But
Hmm.
unfortunately, in Ontario, it used to be that way, that the way the process was set up with the Committee of Adjustments and whatnot, a lot of decisions or a lot of opposition was not fact-based. It was based on a lot of misconceptions, and they wouldn't even, fully understand what you're trying to do, and they would just oppose it.
So maybe this is very it's a broad question, but is it almost easier to develop, you think, out east than it is in Ontario or out west, or is there maybe there's probably pros and cons for both
There's pros and
provinces?
cons for sure, yeah. Yeah, they're more developer friendly places like Alberta. New Brunswick, I would say it's kind of like in between. It's a little bit easier now,
Hmm.
especially in the city of St. John. But every city is different. That's the thing with development. Every city, even every like neighborhood could be different. So there's that you always have to kind of rely on the local knowledge, and that's why I recommend like working with local planners if you're doing a project in an area that you're not familiar with. Um, but yeah, when you go to Alberta, it's a little bit easier. You come to Ontario, it's generally harder. And the great thing, like, and that's the opportunities these days, like all layers of government are almost aligned or trying to
Yeah,
be
they're
aligned, or they're
pushing towards
claiming that
more.
trying to, yeah, they claim that trying to be aligned to make it easier, remove red tape, fast track projects, provide more supply of housing. So things are changing for the better for the most part. But Ontario, if you're trying to do something big, it's a little bit more difficult. But also there's a flip side to that. The places that are easy to develop, there is always a risk of oversupply, which we're starting to see that in places like Edmonton. Calgary is already in oversupply. The rents have started dropping, the prices have started dropping because they
Wow.
build so much. Because and that's from a consumer's perspective, that's how it should be, you
Hmm.
know. Wink, wink to any politicians in Ontario listening to this, is if you let the free market do its thing, it's a the the overall community is going to win because that creates competition, and that is better for consumers.
It'll balance
Uh,
out. I agree.
yeah, exactly. Will balance itself out. But in Ontario, it's harder to do it. But if you do it, well, you're one of the few that has managed to do it. So you actually have an advantage over everybody else. So
I see.
there's two sides to it, right? Like everybody say, "Oh, I'm just gonna go to Alberta because it's easier to do it there." Well, like so, like
But
everybody
you
else
and everyone
thinking the same
else.
way too.
I
Yeah,
got
you
you.
and everybody else,
Okay.
right?
Okay. Thanks
Yeah.
for explaining that. Yeah, that's a good point. So you've carved out your niche though out east. That's pretty sweet. Okay, so high level, you
I'm
said,
still doing stuff in Ontario too. Like
"Oh,
let's
my
not
fault. You're
discount
right.
that.
You are."
Yeah, I'm still doing stuff in Ontario because I do want to do some stuff in where it's not as easy to do it. But there are also things that are getting easier to do in Ontario, like I mentioned, like the multiplexes in Toronto, the triplex, fourplexes, and you mentioned sixplexes in Windsor. These are still nice projects to do, right? They're quicker, less risk. If you don't want to go and do a big project and take a lot of risk, if you're, a little bit newer or you don't want to take that much risk, these are nice projects to do. And I am working on some of those projects, like some of the multiplexes in Toronto, some sixplexes in Durham region, a little bit of bigger projects in Durham region as well. We're working on, but yeah, there's every market is different. We should diversify. We shouldn't just stick to one market. But I do like both markets for different reasons.
Well said. Yeah, I that's one thing I like to say too. It's like you don't want to spread too thin, but it's nice to choose some specific markets that you know, and then you can dive deep into them, and
Yeah.
then you have advantages for each. For instance, Windsor's good because it's still cheap price per door, relatively speaking. But if you go to Detroit, you can also have some better taxes and things. So there's pros and cons to going different places. But really quickly,
Yeah,
I know
exactly.
we got kind of off topic a bit because I was asking all the questions about the development. Tell us a bit more about the Out East project because you said now that you've got it approved, now you can almost get shovels in the ground. You're saying,
Yeah.
what's next for you?
So on that project or for me in general?
Um, we can say both. Leave it open
Both.
ended.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So on that project right now, like I said, we're just onboarding our investor partners, and then once that's all done, we're gonna commission the contractor, the architects to go for the building permit, start getting our CMHC financing, and we are aiming to break ground in late spring 2026.
Mm-hmm.
Aiming to have everything completed early 2027 and lease up basically in summer of 2027. After that, like we have an opportunity to do more on that land, but we're gonna kind of do it phase at a time. We're gonna finish this and then we'll see if we do that depending on the market. But beyond that, I'm working on some of these multiplexes in Toronto. They're as of right, they're almost like quick, easy projects to do. So that's a great opportunity to work on. Same thing in Durham region. They're allowing triplexes, fourplexes, and you can do it as semi-detached, do it with MLI Select. So I'm working on that. We're bringing the construction in-house, partnering with some
Oh
friends
yeah.
to
Be
control the
basically
cost a little bit.
vertically integrated.
Yeah, moving towards that to be more vertically integrated. It works especially better for smaller projects because there's not enough meat on the bone per se to have too many people at the table kind of thing. Um, so that's what I'm moving towards, and then I have my coaching and whatnot that kind of keeps me busy as well.
And that's coaching for the land development with Wealth Genius.
Multifamily development with Wealth Genius, yeah, for
Gotcha,
sure.
gotcha. Yeah, that's really cool that you're doing so many things all at once. It's it it's definitely inspiring because as like I said, as an engineer still working towards quitting my day job, it's cool seeing someone who's done it and making it work and turn it into a full-fledged business. So hats off to you on that.
Thank you.
Um,
It's again, it's not going to be easy. Anybody that says it's easy, they're lying.
mhm.
There's a lot of ups and downs. It's a roller coaster ride. Um, but sometimes, and again, I don't recommend it. Don't take this as an advice, anyone listening to this, but you have to take a leap of faith and, kind of jump off the cliff and build your parachute on the way down. But just make sure you know how to build a parachute and you have all the materials with you when you jump, right?
Maybe that's a good question for you here then. What are maybe two or three skills that if someone's looking to get into development that they should be mastering, or things that they should start getting educated on? Um,
That's a
if
great question. Be very, very comfortable with underwriting, running numbers. Development, a lot of people look at it and say, oh, it's construction, put shovels, put the. No, construction is a portion of development. And I would say it is important, but I would say it's not the most critical. The most critical is your underwriting, is because that's your treasure map. If you have that wrong, no matter how well you execute your construction, the project is going to fail.
still
It's
botched.
like the wrong plan executed well is not going to get you a good result.
Mm,
But the right plan, even executed poorly, can still,
kind of work.
survive,
You're right.
kind
Right.
of work. Yeah. Or you might have an opportunity to fix it. Or another expression that I use sometimes, I love analogies, is like if you're really good at climbing a ladder, uh, and you want to climb, put your ladder against the wall and climb that ladder very quickly. But if you put that ladder on the wrong wall, you're not going to get to where you want to be, right?
Yeah.
No matter how quickly you can climb that ladder. I'd rather climb that ladder slowly, but make sure that ladder is
In the
put
right
on the right
direction.
wall,
Yes.
right, in the
Yeah.
right direction, right? So be very comfortable and patient with due diligence and running numbers, understanding how financing and funding works. Again, development or success of a development project is 80% made on paper
Mm.
before you put shovel in the ground. The faith of that project is determined before you put shovel in the ground.
Hmm. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense too, with all the moving parts and components they said that go up before you're even
Yeah,
making this building happen, like your due diligence and everything else. That's a great point to make. I think a lot of people they
yeah,
rush into things, or they get shiny object syndrome, or they just say, I'm gonna. They force the numbers to work when maybe it doesn't. Like that's a really good reminder to
yeah.
take it easy and do it
That's
do it
right.
properly
Yeah,
the
that
first
I
time.
Exactly. Yeah. That's all. That's another saying in the development, especially well, or investing world is like don't massage your numbers to make them work.
Mm.
Like if it doesn't look like it doesn't work, or it looks like it doesn't work, maybe you need to change your plan. Maybe, like that's what I'm saying. And that's a great thing I like about development because there's a lot of creativity to it. But you got to have the patience for it because you might have a concept, you go and run the numbers and say it doesn't work. That's not the end of the story. You gotta go back and maybe tweak your design. Maybe, make your units bigger or smaller or add more units and see what else you can do and then run the numbers on that. So there's going to be a lot of that back and forth. So you need to make sure you're comfortable with running with the spreadsheets and things like that. And if you're not, maybe partner with someone that is comfortable with that level of complexity.
Yeah, the thing about partnering, uh, you said you were asking for not asking, but you were getting all your investors lined up. How do people get involved in one of your projects? Do they reach out to you? Do they have to be accredited? Do they need a certain amount with their RSPs? Um,
Yeah,
Anything
no,
like
that's a
that?
great question. It's usually accredited investors, friends, and family or business associates. But yeah, basically, right now we're not accepting registered funds because we're not set up as a fund. We make sure the investors are all co-owners of the property. So because
Okay.
of that almost direct ownership, you can't use your own RSPs for that. That's not allowed by CRA. But it's mainly like basically we have a database of people who reach out and connect with us and they express interest. We share the opportunities with them, and if it looks like a project that they like to be part of, then we have a process to onboard them, making sure that they meet all the qualifications to be eligible to invest in the project.
And you also you have, correct me if I'm wrong, you at least you had at the point you had a Facebook group where did your monthly webinars to kind of
That's
funnel
right.
people and educate people as well. Are those still
That's
happening
right.
too? Because if so, I'll make sure I plug that into the description afterwards.
The Facebook group is still there. I still post some stuff in there. There's conversations happening, but um, I ran the monthly meetings for about 3 years. And then it was just I didn't have time anymore. It
Mm.
was a lot of work. And you're doing the podcast, you know how much work it is.
Yeah, it's a little
Um,
bit of hassle, but it's worth it.
yeah, oh,
But
it's
with everything
100%
you're
worth
doing,
it.
I don't blame you.
Yeah, no, for sure. And then obviously I got involved in bigger groups and we're doing like the masterminds and things like that with
Yeah.
Wealth Genius. So kind of phase that out, but definitely helps. If you're doing projects and you want to work with investors and basically what's called like basically OPM. So you have to make sure people know you, right? If they don't
Hmm.
know you, um, well, obviously they're not going to find you or see your opportunity. And building your reputation and trust is very important as well. Um, and making sure people are comfortable working with you, right? The relationship. Again, it comes back to relationships. I remember when I was still in corporate world, uh, we had a kind of what they call this, like professional education, whatever they call it. And is the course was literally called "It's All About Relationships,"
Mm.
and they really broke it down like how important it is. Like no matter what you do, your relationship with people around you, the reputation that you build, that's the most important thing. The trust that people have. The reality is, you can say almost no project goes exactly as planned. There's
There's
always
always
going to be
something.
some challenges. Yeah, there's always going to be something that you need to deal with any project, right? Um, so people need to trust you that first you can handle those situations and that you have integrity uh, and you deal with those situations with integrity and you're putting your 110% because when you work with other people's money, you're the custodian of their hard-earned money. And that's the priority number one. At least that's us for us,
No,
is
absolutely.
to
It should be that way.
protecting them.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And and things happen, right? Um, and it's in those situations that really people need to be able to trust you that you're doing your absolute best to protect their interests, and you're acting with integrity. So those are the really important things, but it takes time to build that reputation, to build that trust. But I think it's something that's important for every investor to work towards, and giving back to the community, right? You're doing this podcast. That's a lot of free value you're providing to your listeners, to your audience, right? Um, so doing stuff like this is very important, uh, and just helps with building that trust and relationship.
Definitely, and
So
selfishly
kudos to you
too.
as well to do
Well, no,
this.
thanks, Ollie. But I like to say, and I was actually just telling a buddy, like, hey, this podcast also not only does it give back, but selfishly, I get to meet and talk to cool people and learn myself too. So it's like a win-win that way.
100%.
Yeah,
Actually, that was one of my motivations when I did my monthly meetups as well. It's like, hey, if I want to get someone to chat with, why not share it with everybody else,
yeah,
right? I'm, I get an hour to chat with someone. Hey, might as well just invite everybody else to come and listen too. And
yeah.
that's
Kill
exactly what
two
you're
birds
doing
with
as
one
well.
stone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Last question for you before we sign off for this evening. What's your long-term vision for EcoLux development and where you're headed in the future?
Hey, we want to be the developer of choice for investors to partner with, and for tenants to live in our buildings and grow the business. Purpose-built rentals for life. That's my motto. Because it's the best wealth creation vehicle. There is no, like, I would debate with anyone that says there's a better wealth creation, long-term wealth creation vehicle out there than purpose-built rentals. And we love new build. I know we were going to talk about that, but we didn't get much time. But we build new, and it's going to be new for the next 20 years. It's very predictable. We know how much we're going to spend. We're not going to have things breaking down every day and wipe out like a year of cash flow.
That's a
Because
great point.
yeah, older buildings, I'll quickly touch on that
Yeah,
because I know we
please.
were
I
going
didn't
to
mean to
talk
cut
about
you
it.
off. You're right. We need to touch on this because this is one big facet of what you do. Then they are new builds. Yeah,
Yeah, the new builds, and I've done both, right? And it's fine. Like initially, I was like, I want to build new, I want to build purpose-built new rentals, and then kind of saw the opportunities with value adds, and especially when you get like a vacant building in Ontario, you're like you're all over it. Um, but then now we've learned with experience that it's very, very difficult to project cash flows from these older buildings because no matter how much renovation you do, there's still going to be something that breaks down and wipes out your cash flow that you thought you're going to
it's a big
have.
capex item. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, CapEx, repair, maintenance, and we're tracking those now for a couple of years, and we're like, there's always something, right? Whereas this duplex that I built in 2017, in these 8 years, I can confidently say I probably spent like maybe $800, maybe $1,000 in like appliance repairs.
You built that thing well,
Uh,
nice and sturdy.
Nice and sturdy because it's,
Yeah,
it's new, right?
of course.
The
Yeah,
roof has 25-year warranty, the furnace has 10-year warranty, everything is under warranty, right? Usually appliances are the only thing that, after 5, 6 years you
yeah.
start doing
You don't make
unless
much use
somebody,
to.
yeah, unless somebody mess something up, right? Like leave the tap open or whatever, but that's different, right? The but Yeah, but older buildings, no matter how much money you spend on them, there's still going to be issues. And then at some point, you're like, well, if I demolish it and build it new, it's almost going to be the same cost, right? So that's why I'm kind of shifting back to focusing on just new builds. And also, there's like, we touched on it, there's support from all levels of government, there's the MLI Select program, there's financing, and there is demand in the market for that, right?
Hmm.
Uh,
You got to go where the
Everybody
government
loves
handout
new.
is. Oh, sorry. Yeah,
Yeah,
everyone loves new, shiny new, is what you're saying.
everybody loves new. Banks love new. Lenders love new. Tenants love new. Investors love new because the new product is more predictable. There's a reason for it. The value adds, they have a place. Um, you know, um, in certain situations. But my belief is like, because if I'm looking long term and I'm going to keep this for my retirement, I want it to be new. I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to deal with like tenant calls every day when I'm 70 for a building that was 40 years old when I bought it
Right. Now
now,
it's
and in
80.
30 years,
Yeah.
it's going to be almost a 100 years old building. And what do you expect from that building, right? So if you're looking long term, and which is what we look at, new build all day long. It just, until a couple of years ago, it didn't really make sense. There was no support, there was no financial incentives, there was a lot of red tape.
Mm-hmm.
So people were really stuck with dealing with what we had, which was the buildings built 40 years ago. And the other thing I want to quickly mention is, because it's
Yeah,
really
we got
important,
time.
is
We got time.
we don't know. I know this is going long, but it's a really great conversation, and I'm really enjoying it. Uh, we don't know how long these programs are going to be here. I was literally having this conversation with some other investors over the past few days. All these value add projects that we want to do now on these older buildings, if we go back and look at when these buildings were built, there used to be a program called MIRP, the multi-unit
MERP.
residential
Okay.
MIRP, multi-unit residential building program. There were
Oh,
incentives
okay.
that government was giving back in the 60s and 70s to build purpose-built rentals. And that's when all these buildings got built.
Was that because like
But guess
the
what?
baby boom kind of there was a lot of people or
There was a
just
lot of people, they
population?
wanted, yeah, there was, I guess there was a housing crisis or something.
Hmm.
I don't know all the
Oh, no
details, to
worries.
be
I was
honest, like
just
of
yeah, I was just
why they
curious.
had that program, but they
Yeah.
had that program that provided incentives for purpose-built rentals. And that's why we didn't have anything built for 40 years in Canada, um,
Mm,
because they stopped that program until they came up with MLI Select, and that basically building purpose-built rentals made sense again. And now we have this opportunity to do this. But the way it's going, we don't know when they're going to stop this the way they did it 40 years ago. But guess what? People who built those new buildings 40 years ago, you're buying their buildings today. So
yeah,
I want to
so
be
you want to be the
I
new
want to be
wave.
those people
Yeah.
today. I want to be the ones that built it now. And in 40 years, when they're like old and like starting to cost too much money, I'm going to sell them to other
Let's sell
investors.
them off to the new blood.
Yeah,
I
exactly. And cash out and go somewhere on the beach and hang out, right? And relax. So it's basically literally like a music that's playing now, and it's a musical chair, and you don't know when this music is going to stop. So I feel like we have a short window to take advantage of these incentives and these programs, because again, these things are political. We touched about it.
mm-hmm.
If the government changes, they might just stop this program, put a hard stop to it. And we have seen indications of that. Like the MLI Select used to be a lot easier when it came out in 2022, and it's getting harder and harder. And even if they don't stop it, it might get it to a point that it just doesn't make sense to use it anymore, right? And it's likely that that's going to happen because CMHC has indicated that the risk department is flagging that they're taking on too much risk.
Too many
Um,
people are taking advantage of the programs.
Yeah, yeah, it's basically an incentive that government is insuring these buildings for the purpose of providing more supply and housing. But once it gets to a point that they feel like they don't need that, like the industry doesn't need that support, they're probably gonna stop the program or like make it harder.
I have heard something about 2031 was where they're officially saying they were going to end at least some of this MLI Select program. Um, but I don't know if
I don't know if
I don't know if that
I don't know if
was
I've heard
correct.
that
I
before.
don't know. I was talking
I
to
know
someone
the
about
the HST incentive,
maybe
it's
that's what I was
until
thinking. I apologize.
2030.
That's what I was
Yeah,
thinking.
2030 or 2031. So that, yeah, that's a great point as well. Like you got a couple of years to build these buildings without paying HST. Again, I can go on for like hours about like, all the incentives, all the programs that's out there, and why they're important and how they help. But yeah, HST has been removed from new builds, purpose-built rentals. So these are all the support that's existing now. And this is a once in a lifetime opportunity for any investor to get their hands on brand new buildings. And you can buy them as they're built, does it turnkey, or you can get into building them yourself, or you can partner with people who build these. But I think this is the greatest opportunity in Canadian real estate market right now. And it's something that, we will look back at 20, 30 years from now and say, people who did it, they're laughing now.
Yeah, they're the smart ones.
They were the smart ones.
It almost seems because we were looking at one of these sixplexes initially. Now I'm all about the new builds as well. I was kind of sold on it after I seen a couple actually come to fruition, and with the HST rebate, it seems like a no brainer because you can build one of these things, and once you get your 95% loan to value, and you get the rebate on top of that, you almost have a building 2.6 million dollar building. That's what it's appraised at for free because you pulled all your money out,
You can in some
which
situations you can do
is
that.
which is wild. I know that doesn't happen all the
It's
time, but
wild.
it it you just need the capital up front. You need about 300K, let's say, just to make this specific type happen.
Yeah. You know,
But
100%.
it's a
Yeah,
gold rush. It's a gold rush.
it is 100%. I like that. Yeah, it's definitely a gold rush. And if you're ignoring it, you're basically leaving money on the table. There is definitely opportunities where you can do projects. We're actually working on some of those, like sixplexes in Durham region, that we can confidently predict. There's no guarantee in this business, but we can confidently predict that we will pull out all the capital and end up with a brand new sixplex, basically with no money left in the deal. And you can just rinse and repeat and do that. So
Hmm.
we're just fine-tuning that process now, and we're gonna do more of that moving forward.
And keep churning them out one after another.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, 100%.
Man, what a time to be alive, eh?
Yeah, yeah, I know.
I hope this gravy train does keep on going because Canada really does need the housing, and we'll have
100%.
to see what the Liberals or Conservatives, whoever comes in next, if they even pass a budget. Like what happens. But
Yeah, I don't know if today was, is it today or tomorrow the budget
I think there's,
is supposed to come out?
I think so.
Tomorrow?
They were
That
supposed to
was
do some
November
sort of
4th.
vote, but last
Yeah, yeah.
last I heard, it was definitely contentious. People are acting and campaigning as if it is election, but
I
we'll
heard
have to
there's a
see.
there's a real possibility there's going to be another election,
Yeah.
right? So those are actually like the things that you have to pay attention to as well, 100% in the investing world. But it's definitely interesting times to be alive and be in real estate investing in Canada. Definitely opportunities. And yeah, I think what you're doing, we're bringing all that value to people, and it's up to the people who hear this to take action on it.
Hmm. Yeah, you just got to take action, even if it's a small thing every day. You just got to do something and
Yeah.
start somewhere, and then you'll figure
What
it
is
out
the
as you
saying?
go.
You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Exactly, Ollie. Exactly.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
really appreciate your time, man. I really do. And this was a
Thank
great
you.
conversation. We'll have to
Thanks
do
for
another
having
one,
me.
seriously, because I know we essentially scratched the surface. I know you have a great depth of knowledge for this, so it'd be great to pick your brain more
Appreciate
and
it.
have you explain it all to us. So
Always
thanks.
happy to come back and probably maybe like come back with some updates on our 28 units. And
That would be
yeah,
sweet. Hopefully,
yeah, would
don't
love
tell
to.
us any horror stories. Hopefully, everything goes smoothly. But you knock on some wood
No,
here.
it's gonna be good. There's always gonna be challenges. They're like I was listening to a podcast the other day. It's like don't go to any business expecting not to face any challenges.
Hmm.
There's gonna be challenges, but it's worth it at the end. That's what matters.
I think that's a great way to close this one out. Thanks again, Ali, and for everyone
Thank
listening.
you. Thanks for having me.
No, anytime, anytime. And we'll put your links in the description as well. And guys, for those listening or watching, comment, like, subscribe, and also rate this on Spotify 5 stars because that'll be appreciated as well. Good night, everyone. Bye bye.